Chapter 2, Fighting a Taller Boxer. Okay, here is the shorter boxer's toolbox to turn yourself into a buzzsaw or a honey badger, as my dad would say. Honey badgers are small yet aggressive animals you don't want to mess with, which makes them a great spirit animal for the short guy. Most boxing moves and styles come from the assumption that you are taller and have some reach. In many amateur programs across the pond, you wouldn't make the team tryouts if you were short, but if you were tall, that was something they could work with. This is where my father and I are intimately acquainted with how to fight as a shorter boxer because we were both vertically challenged. My father was a master at teaching short guy boxing, so much that he almost named one of his gyms after the shortest light heavyweight champion in history, Dwight Muhammad Quayi. As a short fighter, it is easy to fall into a box of thinking you have to be like the character in a Rocky movie, take 3 shots to land one, and only be a brawler or slugger. However, good short fighters aren't that limited. Of course, you have to be tough as a boxer, but a short person shouldn't have to rely on their toughness any more than a taller boxer. The one thing a shorter fighter has to gain control over is fear. A tall boxer can fight scared and ride their metaphorical unicycle around the ring while they throw their boxing gloves at their opponent and get away. Try that as a short boxer, and you are probably never going to achieve the sweet taste of victory. Shorter boxers, here we go. Get ready for the treasure chest of tools that will allow you to dominate those skyscrapers. Straight multi-jab attacks. My wife is short and her main coach was a taller fighter. He would teach her to circle to her lead side with her jab, but as a shorter fighter, you are giving your opponent an exit when you do that and slowing down the time it takes for you to get in. Her coach was sharp though and would send her to work with another coach who was a short champion. One of the biggest adjustments he would have her make is to jab straight in. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Straight in? You need to come in at an angle. I've heard it at least 50 times. If you are a more mid-height or long fighter, yes, you can do that. You can also do it if your opponent has their feet in cement blocks and isn't trying to evade you, but almost every taller guy I ever boxed would move when I attacked. Therefore, if they wanted to circle away as I circled my way into attack, well, you just have a bunch of circular movement and that's helping the longer guy, not you. Think about it. What do you not want to do when someone attacks you? Go straight back. Therefore, if you can make them go straight back with your jabs, you are getting them on their heels and eventually they're going to hit that rope. Now you can go to town and make that ring your own personal coffin-sized torture chamber. Just because you're coming straight in, it doesn't mean you have to get nailed as you do it. Here are 3 ways to mind your defense with your offense. Number 1, multi-jabs. One jab can be countered, but machine gun style jabs that drive your foe back can shut down most counters, making your opponent want to hit a hard back pedal. When you throw one jab at a time, it's like fighting with muskets in the Revolutionary War. Transport yourself to World War II and wreak havoc with a machine gun style jab. Number 2, catch and block as you come in. I spent a year on this almost exclusively when I boxed. When you're short and your opponent thinks you might jab, all they have to do is stick a jab out and bam, they pop you right in the face and give you some static. Get in the habit of catching, flipping your wrist so your hand comes in front of your face with the glove open with the palm stopping the punch, just like a catcher's mitt. Do this at the same time you launch your jab. You can use this to stop jabs, uppercuts, and even right crosses over your jab. And all you have to do is watch out for a check left hook. So just stay awake and don't fall asleep at the wheel. Number 3, head movement. Work on mixing in slips, dips with your jab as well as in between them. This ensures that your opponent can't close their eyes and hit you, even though you are coming straight forward. How to practice. Get about 10 feet away from a mirror and practice coming straight in with as many jabs as it takes to get to the mirror. Make sure you step at the same time as your jab. It's easy to get off time and start hopping with 3 to 5 jabs in a row. If you flare your elbow on the jab, practice doing backhand jabs where you don't turn it over or even pop the shoulder at the end, which can lead to excess elbow flare. Try to almost bounce your elbow off your side in rapid succession to build up the speed and coordination. Then, when you have that down, start to turn the punch over and snap the shoulder to put the finishing touches and polish on your brand new machine gun jab. Feinting before the real attack. Picture yourself in the Wild West, caught in a tense shootout. You're behind a wall trying to look around so you can pop out and shoot an outlaw that only has 1 bullet left. If you just jump out, he could catch you with that one shot. But if you make him waste his bullet or hesitate, you have a chance. The same thing goes in your modern day shootout. Your opponent has a bullet, and that bullet is their plan to catch you with something as you come in. If you can make them shoot their shot off arbitrarily and waste it, or not shoot their shot altogether because they just think you are bluffing, you're in business. Even at the lower levels, if all you do is start with a jab and do it the same way every time, you are going to get countered and possibly shut down. This is where you need to be a good liar and make your opponent unsure when the real attack is coming. You can use the feint to do 3 things. Number 1, draw out a shot that you can counter. Number 2, disrupt their focus and make them second guess their moves, forcing them to become jumpy. Number 3, lull them into a false sense of security, making them think, I've seen this warrior approaching the clearing countless times. This can't be the real attack. Then, all of a sudden, bam! You strike them with an unexpected, powerful blow. Remember, this is an overall boxing principle. The more you can keep your opponent busy, and the less they can think. The less they can think, the more mistakes they will make, and the less ways they will devise to hurt you. So, you keep them distracted, make them show their hand, or get inside the city gates because they thought your forces were attacking through the side, but you are actually busting down the front door. How to perfect it. A perfect feint is not slow and smooth. It is a jerky movement because you want your enemy to spaz. Make the first few inches of the movement you would make for the punch you are feinting, because that is what everyone reacts to, the first few inches. If you go beyond that, you might as well have thrown the real punch or used it as a throwaway shot. Mental tip. Think about starting with a punch as you move and then throw another. This can help you make little subconscious movements you would do to throw that shot, then literally surprise yourself with something else. Cut down the ring. The outmost classic example of a champion not being able to cut off the ring and it costing him is when Sonny Liston fought Ali in their first encounter. Watch that fight if you haven't already and see how Liston goes to his left and Ali circles to Ali's left. This results in Sonny never being close enough to properly pressure Ali and leaves a constant escape hatch for Ali. Contrast that when Ali faced a man who could cut him off, Joe Frazier. That fight went very differently with Ali kissing the canvas en route to his first professional loss. You wouldn't believe how many fighters I've worked with at every level who either have trouble cutting off the ring or simply forget to because it's not natural. Normally, when we pursue someone, we aren't in a square area that they've agreed to stay in. So we do have to actually chase them down. Therefore, when cutting off your opponent, you need to focus on intercepting them versus chasing them. When you're shadowboxing, practice coming for it while mixing in quick lateral shuffles with and without your jab. You can also get a partner to drill it with you, where your job is to simply keep them sliding along the ropes while you stay right there with them. Recently, I cornered one of our up-and-coming fighters who showed a lot of promise in his first amateur fight. He was destroying his opponent, but kept trailing behind him as the guy was trying to run away. I say run because it would be a little too much of a compliment to say he was trying to get on his bicycle, when this guy was just running to my boxer's left the whole time. My main instruction for the fighter was left, move left, go left, to help prevent my guy from falling into a foot race in his first fight. This led him to pinning the guy on the ropes and securing his first victory. Attack and smother. When you're the shorter boxer, it is very easy to fall into a trap and just stand in the firing lane, like I would do too much, and try to bob, weave, and block until you launch your next assault. Even though you're shorter, it doesn't mean you have to get smashed up trying to stay close enough to get your shots off. Something the shorter boxer tends to forget is the concept that they can do their work and just be gone, out of their range and out of their opponent's range. Sometimes, however, this gives your opponent a little too much breathing room and could be an opportunity to regroup. It makes it so you have to run across a firing lane before you get close enough to do some more damage. This is a better way. You're short, so you start from out because that is where every fight starts. Once you get in with jabs and or head movement and throw some sweet combos, instead of standing there like a whack-a-mole or running outside of the bank before you try to come in and rob it again, how about you smother any firepower your opponent has? Think about it. When you're boxing someone who is longer, they are probably best at long-range shots. So once you do the work you want to do, take a step in and go chest to chest, or put your head on their chest and take a pause before you unleash another flurry. This minimizes the punch variety and power if done right. Shuts down everything. Good luck trying to hit someone while they are literally on you, shoulder to shoulder or chest to chest. To make this move even sweeter, you can roll your head around on the inside to keep your guy busy. While doing this, think about what to do or throw and mix in some super sweet short shots that should be a part of your arsenal if you are any height, but especially if you are short. To be clear, when I say, quote, move your head around, I'm not telling you to try to bump your head on theirs. Just move it around so they don't know what side you're on. Also, watch out for slamming your head into theirs when you do smother. Try to take your head offline as you smother, especially if they are square. There are a couple of things to watch out for. First, make sure you keep your hands close to you to avoid the longer boxer from using them to tie you up. Head movement helps shut down this as well. Also, make sure you don't lean in order to get your head on their chest. You need to bring the hips and feet with you. If you don't, you're making it easy for a tall opponent to lay on you, push you down, and hit you with the short guy killer, the uppercut. You can practice this primarily on the bag. Just make sure you smother in all the way. Practice taking a half step off the smother, ripping some vicious combos, and then smothering in again. Do that for 3 to 5 rounds, and you'll be in business. Take a big step out. Here we are talking about what I said for a tall boxer to do against a short boxer. What gives? Well, like we talked about, when you are in range to land your shots and you take a smaller step out, you are now out of your range and still at the end of theirs. That is exactly where you do not want to hang out. To be clear, you might hang out there with the purpose of launching your next attack off of one of their leads, but you don't need to stand there when you have no intention to continue the attack. Earlier, I mentioned smothering, but a fighter can still find a way to respond. When you mix this in, they'll be left unsure of how to react, and adjusting to your range will become a huge challenge for them. So practice throwing your shots and taking a couple steps out, or take an explosive long step out that is about 18 inches to ensure you are clear from the kill zone. Switch stance 2 with a hook follow-up. This is a sneaky little trick I stole from a fighter I trained who was originally from up north. You see, oftentimes a tall guy will get the range on your straight right/rear hand and lean out or step out just enough to make it miss. This move helps disguise your reach. They won't know if you have a 65-inch reach or a 77-inch reach. With this tactic, you step through with your rear foot, turning your rear hand into a southpaw jab if you're an orthodox fighter. Do this with a step and it buys you a few more inches on top of that. Combine that with a lead hook from the same hand and you have a combo that will catch some of the best fighters by surprise. When you practice this, make sure the rear hand is almost pulling the body with it versus stepping through with the rear foot and then throwing the punch. Mixing this in your arsenal will help ensure your taller foe feels uncomfortable at almost any range, and the more uncomfortable you make their day, the better. Leap with the lead hook. Here is a move that a lot of coaches say is a no-no and will get you killed by a right hand. Well, watch the greats do it. You don't see many examples of fighters getting murdered as they step in with a lead hook, and a lot of them do it. Now, the caveat is what you do before it. Yes, if you are leapy McLeaper pants and try to just spring in with left hooks like a jackrabbit all the time, then yeah, you might just run your head into a lights out right hand. But if you keep your basics together and throw an educated jab consistently, when they see that lead hand move, they will think it's jab time and are a prime setup for a big lead hook. That's the basic setup. The setup I loved and did too much, but it worked, was a quick dip and then a leap with the hook. Something about that jerking dip movement makes people rise up like a jack-in-the-box, allowing you to snap their head right off their shoulders with a big lead hook. Changing sides. I mentioned the technique of putting your head on different sides while on the inside earlier in the section on smothering, but let's take a deeper dive. Myself and many boxers I've worked with have a habit of getting stuck on one side while on the inside. This limits what they can do, allowing their opponent to think and come up with answers when they aren't throwing. Think about it. If your body and head stay in one position while on the inside or return to a certain default, your opponent can cook up a great recipe to tag you. But if you switch by moving your head from left to right and then to the center while mixing in weaves, you'll limit the punches your opponent can throw from short range. This also reduces their ability to tie you up or spin off. That movement is a perfect disguise for your short, jolting punches. Don't underestimate the power of this tool. Rear hand under the chin. We talked about the short guy killer, the uppercut. While keeping your stance and balance by not leaning forward will help to minimize how open you are for this punch, let's face it, you're shorter. You've got to watch out for it because taller boxers are going to be gunning for it, especially if you get close. I first picked this move up from studying slick inside fighters, and then I plugged it into the toolbox. The hack is to simply keep your rear hand open and under your jaw. When you are fighting in a phone booth, that uppercut can sometimes be almost invisible when done correctly. If you're getting caught by it, just put your rear hand there so they hit your hand and not your jaw. The most important point is to make sure you understand what you are now open for by doing this. As anyone who has spent any time around boxing will tell you, just like chess, almost every move has an opening it creates or invites. So, we stop you from getting jacked by the uppercut, and you won't have to eat mashed potatoes and grits diet for the next few weeks. But understand that now you are inviting a hook on your rear side. Your answer for this is to remember your head movement, specifically the bob or dip motion. When working from a tight range, your opponent mostly has hooks and uppercuts to use. But now we have taken away the uppercut, which is oftentimes much harder to see. Now, let's just keep an eye out for that hook and be ready to go under it. Also, if they do keep trying for the uppercut off of this position, you can use the great uppercut killer, the left hook. Don't believe me? Watch Joe Frazier put Muhammad Ali on the deck with a well-timed left hook over an uppercut. The bike chain. A longer boxer wants to take little trips on their bicycle in between throwing rocks at you. You can take the air out of their tires by working the body, or just lock up the bike and keep them in one spot with what I call the bike chain. In the past couple of years, I had a short fighter I worked with use this on a very good, well-schooled fighter to devastating effect. The guy's coach and teammates were telling him, get off the ropes, and to spin him, with no success, while my guy kept him in one spot round after round. Then, in the last round, my guy stopped doing the move and his opponent thought he was still stuck on the ropes. He kept going back to the ropes and staying there. I kid you not. So how do we lock someone down in a way that they would have to cut the ring ropes or climb over them to get out of it? Very simple, champ. Here it is. When you have someone on the ropes, extend your lead leg so your shin is touching the bottom rope. This makes it so your opponent would have to lift a leg up and over your knee just to exit. Try this one out with a partner in the ring and feel what it can do. When you mix this in with a smother and throw tactic, you'll be a force to be reckoned with. The key tip is to keep your weight on the back foot and press your lead shin against the rope. Then do a slight pull, lean, or take a mini step backwards to unload and keep the chain locked tight. If you are tired of people getting away from you as you are trying to grind them into dust, master this one in shadow boxing as well as in sparring, and you will be impressed with the results. Make them come to you. Nothing can be more frustrating than a fighter or having a fight where you're the shorter person and your opponent is running around the ring doing everything they can do to stay away from you. By design, this can get a shorter boxer to be sloppy and cost them the fight. What we can do here is stop playing into their game, especially if it's not working or if we sense an opportunity to time them. We are going to lure them into our cave so we can bash them over the head and steal that victory from them. How do we do this? First, you will need to hang right at the edge of their range. Then, as they jab, take a slight step back and mix in your own lateral movement. When you become a master of range, you can figure out theirs pretty quickly, putting yourself in an approximate that will make them think they can hit you if they just reach a little further. Once you've established this, you can then flip the script on them, closing the range hard and fast. It is very hard for a fighter to change gears, but if you are the one changing the gears for them, you can stall their motor out and destroy their engine. Again, similar to what I said earlier, if you can be where you want to be when you are ready to attack, and in turn be a little too close or far away when they want to attack, well, my friend, that is what being a great boxer at any height is all about. Notes: what key points or tools do you want to retain, gain, and implement from this chapter? Take a moment to write it down or at least think about it.